Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of our Dungeon Boss Hero Spotlight. Today we are taking a look at the recent Dwarf update. By now with the event going on, you've likely had a chance to explore these guys. I'm just going to go over the quick basics here and then ultimately talk a little bit about PvP offense and defense. So there are currently 6 dwarves. You obviously cannot use all of them on a team, so it's going to come down to who do you want to put on your team and for what reasons. So for that reason, we're going to sort of pseudo rank them, if you will. I'll rank them from worst to best in my opinion. Keep in mind that is just my opinion, but looking at some of their abilities and such like that, and their traits, passives and such like that, I think it won't be too hard to agree with me in a lot of cases. So with the dwarf update, you can find most of the information on the forums. There's a few things I think that were mentioned in the forums that didn't quite make it into the tooltips. Most notably, all I'm going to focus on right now for that is the fact that Hagrim's second ability is starting powered, which does not say so in the tooltip. At least it did not as of today, unless there was a Dungeon Boss Got Better update that included that. Just be aware of that if you haven't been using Hagrim. You may want to start. So with that said, each of the dwarves in this particular update, this is very, very, very reminiscent of the Beast update that we saw a while back that solidified Solaris as basically an OP monstrosity. Now, the dwarf team is not nearly as OP as the Beast team was back then, so they are still susceptible to very high damage teams. They're still susceptible to lack of exclusive and high-powered healing. They also suffer from a reviver as well. So, and they basically require synergy with Valken as well. So, whereas Solaris was the healer and the reviver and the synergy person all in one, that's a little bit different in terms of the dwarf team, making them not quite as potent, but still very, very, very good. So, with the update, there are basically a couple things to note. If we get into the heroes here, each of the dwarves, I'll just grab the first one that's on the list here, and just to point out a couple things, it happens to be Robear. Each of the dwarves will have Dwarven Resolve, this isn't new to this particular update. This Dwarven Resolve has been new for maybe a couple months now, but basically it's something that all the dwarves got. So this isn't new this time around, but basically adds extra damage to high evade, similar to what Agnon does with high defense, only not near the same caliber. They also will all be armored as well. That has not changed as well. And then this here's what all the new dwarves stats are going to get. This extra trait with some sort of a forgotten mechanic. This is similar to what we see with the if on a team of Solaris, this sort of mechanic happens. Pretty much all of these are pretty good except for one exception, and that's going to start off our countdown here. Worst dwarf is... Sorry, I'm getting there. Nothing like lag here. Theron Fiddlestrom has barely any updates. He's not really gotten anything great out of this update, and he's kind of solidifying himself as bottom of the barrel right now. So Theron's been kind of a running joke for a while now. He used to be really, really, really good back when you needed him to kill Igorok, but those are back in the legacy days that very few of you probably even remember if you're watching my channel right now. Anyways, in terms of his passive, he's got Tinkerer's Tricks, that hasn't changed, and then Forgotten Aptitude. So when he's on a team with Valken, he gains 25% attack, and all of his abilities start powered. Sounds great, but when you look at Theron's abilities, it's none to write home about. Thermal Detonator, sure, it's great. The Cheers Mate, sure, it's great. Helmet Missiles probably might be the only one they actually want to use. Thing is, there's so many dark teams out there that you're not going to be able to lower their defense anyways. Certainly not going to impact Agnon at all. And so, ultimately, this isn't really worth putting him on your team. And the fact that he's a caster, sure, that gives him the mystical trait here, but to be honest, I just don't see it with Theron. He does have an epic, but even that, so his epic proc wounds enemies hit. Same thing if you're going against dark teams, it just it's not going to happen, and he's usually going to be long since dead before then. He does have the Demolitionist and the Armor's Bane. This is the former Armor Hunter, 2x2 damage to armored enemies, which is great, but certainly not necessary. And the same thing with the Ignoring Armor. So he already does extra damage to them, and then he ignores the armor as well. So, and then does extra damage to constructs, which you're not seeing a lot of constructs out there anyways, except for Agnon. And again, Agnon's likely going to have Theron dead before you can do anything anyways. So we're not going to focus too much on Theron because, like I said, he's ranked number 6. He's the worst of the dwarves, and I don't recommend using him really unless you're forced into it. Ranking number 5. Sorry, my game's a little unresponsive. Back to the top, Rogar Stonecrusher. He's the first hero you get, so it makes sense that he's not terribly OP. He's just kind of there. His overall stats, he's got really low traits in terms of quantity and quality. The Hothead is pretty cool. You get plus 10% for fire or dwarf. Not many people are going to run an all fire team, so that's pretty much out. And you're not really going to run an all dwarf team, so that's out. So best case scenario, maybe you're going to get 20 or 30% here. So that's great and all, but as a fire hero, you can already pimp out the runes pretty good and get pretty high attack. That being said, Rogar's attack as a base is 1200, which is okay, good, not great. I've seen higher, I've seen lower. You want to really pump up his epic in order to make him worth it. I've seen a lot of people really max out his epic, and that could help quite a bit, but you're going to have to do that in order to make him extremely viable. His Forgotten Mechanic is a good one, 20% defense, 20% max health. That's for him, so it makes him survivable in terms of defense and health. You pair that with his epic, and he's pretty good at surviving, but he's still not that great, in my opinion. His abilities haven't changed, with the exception of maybe Rage Strike was renamed. I don't think it's been Rage Strike, but to be honest, I haven't used Rogar in a very long time, so I've not been keeping up with his abilities. The other thing that I cannot confirm is the the ability cost, the energy. I'm guessing this has gone down a little bit, but I don't have my cheat sheet handy anymore, so I can't tell you exactly how much it's decreased by. But again, he's a low priority in my opinion at rank number 5. Rank number 4, moving up a little bit in the world, formerly probably the worst of the dwarves because he didn't have an epic and wasn't really helpful in any way and had no synergy and no traits or passives, would be Rogar's daddy Dagon. So Dagon, he does have a Forgotten Mechanic. He's got a couple of good things here going for him, which bumps him up the list a little bit. He's Impervious, which is poison, burn, frozen, chilled, and venom, shocked, or disease. Can't have any of that, which is great. It's not quite as good as Valken. We're immune to all debuffs, but it's right up there. Dwarven Dynamo. This one is great and all that dwarf allies do extra damage to shock targets, but it's unlikely you're going to see too much shock damage out there because there's just too many people that can mitigate it, and the dark teams just are going to ignore it in the first place. What you should be impressed with here is the +1 energy on crits, which could help you quite a bit keeping abilities up. Probably Dagon's newest, latest, greatest, and probably his best trait is the like father, like son. I can't actually wait to try this in PvP. I haven't done it yet, but I think this is going to be something that you're going to see in PvP defense with a little pairing of Dagon and Rogar. I don't know that I'm going to do that, but I feel like this is going to be something. So basically when Dagon does an ability, Rogar does the exact same ability, regardless of what the energy is. So he doesn't have to have his ability up. So if you lead off with Rogar, do Whirlwind, great. Then you do the Whirlwind with Dagon, then Rogar does another Whirlwind. So trying to play that in PvP might be something nice with getting some free attacks, but you certainly have to whip up a good team. His Forgotten Mechanic, he gains 25% damage penetration. This is by far the worst of the Forgotten Mechanics because not really many people care about damage penetration anymore. So this is probably one of the worst things about the new combat revamp. Sure, it countered damage reduction, but damage reduction was already nerfed, so it's pretty much negligible. His abilities haven't really changed either. I think maybe the names have changed a little bit, but he's basically got the same thing as Rogar has. He's got a Whirlwind, he's got a Skullcracker, and he's got a third one that just whacks them. So whether it's electrical or thundering or resounding, whatever. Some of them do electricity, others I believe don't, but you can play around with those as you see fit. Ranking number 3 on the dwarf list. Now we're getting up into the ones that you actually want to use. So I gotta scroll up a little bit. Number 3. I'm getting there. Man, my game is really unresponsive tonight. I really apologize. Dagon Black Smoke. Now, Dagon, I'm not going to lie, he got a great upgrade. The thing is, he's a healer, and that kind of drops him down a peg in terms of usefulness. But his updates were fantastic. If you're running a 3 dwarf team, Dagon's going to be one of them, along with the other top 2 guys. So, what's great about Dagon? How about a shielding soul? When he's killed, all allies, keep that in mind, allies, not dwarves, everybody gets an Aegis shield. Dagon goes down, everybody gets a shield. That's awesome. Cleansing Aura, 1 debuff on all ally. Again, allies, not dwarves, at the start of every turn. Also very awesome. Dwarf allies gain 40% max health and lifesteal on hit. Very awesome. If you're running a dwarf team, especially in PvE, this here's going to keep you alive. That's way extra health and a bunch of lifesteal. And then combine that with heal on every single turn. So you're probably not going to run Dagon without Valken, so you heal him each turn. I don't know what the exact number is on this. I think it's somewhere between 5 and 10%. I haven't looked at the tooltips to see how much he actually heals. So he's got some great updates here. His abilities are still the same. The Rune, the Energy, the Smackdown, and the Dwarven EMT. Dwarven EMT, though, also gains haste now. This is pretty amazing. I don't think that was there beforehand. Dwarven Smackdown, I think this one added the extra dwarves attacking. I don't think that was the case before. I also don't think it purged buffs before, but don't quote me on that one yet. And then the Energy Rune, I'm pretty sure the heal was a double heal on himself even before this, but most people just know the Energy Rune as being adding energy to somebody else. He does have an epic, keep that in mind. It's highly defensive, but also a really good attack as well. So he's got one of the better epics in terms of stat boost. But now we're getting up into the top 2. So the top 2 are sort of interchangeable in my opinion, but number 2 on my list is, drumroll, the new legendary dude. He's not new to legendary either, but High King Valken. He would be number 1, but the thing is, Valken's role in the dwarf team is largely passive. I mean, he is good, he's a great hero, but he's largely a passive hero. Unlike Solaris, where you needed Solaris to use a beast team back there, you need Valken, but it's okay if he dies or underperforms because he's largely there for synergy. So Valken, Invulnerable. This is a new one for him. Can't be having any debuffs. That's basically like Emily now. Very good. Suits his name for legendary. Dwarven High King, 25% attack, 25% defense. If you're running a dwarf team, this here's going to help you. And then lead by example. This one here is probably my favorite for him and why I've been using Valken a lot lately. Again, allies, not dwarves. Follow up any attack, and not just attack. This is any ability as well. You use Valken, all 3 of your guys attack. That is pretty awesome. So it used to be a small % chance that somebody would follow up. Now it's a 100% chance that everybody follows up. Cannot put a price on that. His abilities have stayed the same in terms of what they are and what they do, and he already had exceptional energy cost. Was right up there amongst the best in the entire game. I do not believe that has changed. It looks like 11 total. That's very low in terms of ability. Pair that with over the other guys, if you have Dagon on your team, get the extra crits on there for plus energy, and you pretty much have a perma Valken. You can use pretty much the Tooth and Nail or the Steel Sharpened Steel at your discretion over and over because they'll constantly be up because they'll be AoEs. He's going to get those crits, and then they're going to be right back up, and you can get that perma haste up there with using Steel Sharpened Steel and using Twar. That's largely going to be a PvE mechanic. You're not going to get that many attacks off in PvP. It's just not going to happen. So That leaves number 1 on my list. My buddy Hagram, I actually just featured him against the assassin team. That's still going to be true now. Essentially, Hagram now is a absolute Emily killing beast. If you're looking at killing Emily through her shield, Hagram's going to do it. If your Hagram cannot kill Emily, either it's the most powerful Emily known to man, or your Hagram sucks. That is a guarantee. With his ability of Jackhammer now starting charged, you can guarantee to kill Emily. She can't dodge it, she can't mitigate it, you're basically going to kill her. Now, I think when I attack Emily, I don't even know if I've ever even gotten to the third hit against her, with the exception of maybe if she had her first one being up on a shield, but if she's unshielded, she's dead in 2 hits. Part of the reason is because of this, deals 3 times damage to armored and living stones. Emily's armored, so she just takes an absolute shit ton of damage. So, stats on him. Same as always, he's got the dual wielder. He also has the goblin thing. Nobody cares about goblins. Nobody runs them anyway, so this is largely negligible for this update. But that hasn't changed. His Vengeful Dwarf, anybody that dies, he's had this before. 25% attack, defense, and health, and makes a revenge attack. This is pretty awesome. If you have a Hagram that survives and somebody else dies, this is going to be almost a death sentence for some of them, with the exception of really high health and high defense people. But probably Hagram's best one right now is the fact that he gets switched to fast when he's on a team with Falcon. And this is part of the reason why I've been using him almost exclusively, because if you're able to basically open up with Jackhammer, if you like, you're basically able to get a quick kill on someone, except for if there's inconvenient taunting. Abilities, like I said, stayed the same. We're not going to highlight those, and he doesn't have an epic. So what are we using in terms of PvP defense? In PvP defense, I don't have a dwarf team yet for you. I don't know that they're going to make their way into PvP defenses. I'm thinking that at some point, some people are going to use the lead-off Dagon just to see if we can get the double attack with Robear. But the thing is, I think there's enough fast teams out there that could kill Dagon before that's even effective. As I mentioned before, the dwarves are still highly susceptible to a ton of damage output. I would not recommend running 4 dwarves in any case. Most people on PvP attacks are running probably 3 dwarves and Solaris, in my opinion. But if anybody's still running this PvP defense here with assassins, they're pretty much easy pickings if you pick a handy team. Now, the team that I've been using to basically get through the dwarf quests is definitely using dwarves, and we'll test it on this one here. So this is a good example of what we're doing. This is not the team. So like I said, you're still susceptible to needing a reviver, so Solaris is a big part of this plan here. But instead of using 3 dwarves and Solaris, I've actually been funneling Gore-Tusk in there. Gore-Tusk will protect these guys and make sure they can get their damage out there. But basically with Gore-Tusk and Hagram, and then I've been using Valkyrin to pair with Hagram, and then Solaris. So I'm by no means taking advantage of all the dwarves. I think the only real way to do that is if you're running PvE dungeons where you can have revive potions and extra energy and such like that. But PvP, you still have to somewhat play it smart. Now I'm playing with a 5-level disadvantage. I'm not going to get all cute here and try to do 3 dwarves and Solaris and watch Solaris get killed in the first turn by Black Diamond and Kira combo. So throw some damage reduction in there, and then once their first turn's over, these guys are pretty much toast. So rune power on him was 5,600, which is just slightly above all superiors. So he's got a couple of elites on there. Certainly nowhere near the 6,000 or so max that you can get at this point. But I'm pretty confident in being able to win this one. Best thing about this is Hagram and Valken cannot miss. So basically, and because you don't have debuffs, you're guaranteeing that Valken is likely going to freeze these guys in the first turn. If they get frozen, that's it. They're toasted. So then that prevents Black Diamond from doing her high potency attack, prevents Sifu Jianzi from doing his as well. I didn't see the order. I don't remember if Emily was before Sifu, so it's occasional that Sifu will definitely whack somebody. But don't try to get carried away here. Just do keep your damage reduction stacks down with momentum rather than trying to go for the freeze, because you get the freeze with Valken. In this case here, Sifu's not armored, so I'm not going to waste my jackhammer on him because it may not actually kill him. I'd be much more happy with a little bit of nerve damage. Okay, so now we're in a good spot because Valken's going to come freeze the team. Nobody's dead, so Emily's not reviving anybody. We only froze 2 of them. But Emily's done in the next turn now. And then with 2 of them frozen, they're basically toast, and they have no health left. So it's all good for us. Now we can just do some killing. Doesn't matter what the stacks are at this point. So jackhammer on Emily, 2 hits and she's dead, just like I described. We kill Black Diamond, and we'll kill Kira, and 5 levels means nothing because the assassin team is hashtag RIP assassins, because they are doomed now, not a chance. So I've not seen the death of an entire meta defense so quickly, but this is it. That defense is toast. It's not... If you still have that up, I still have it up on my end too. I just haven't changed it yet, so dump it. Now, that being said, if it's not an assassin team or a team that has a bunch of fast heroes to start with, you can roll with 3 dwarves, but I like having the damage mitigation with Gortusk. Plus, if Gortusk dies and then Solaris dies and then she comes back with the next turn, Gortusk comes right back with a free revive. So that's basically what I'm using for most of the teams. Keep in mind that when you're running through this here, you don't use dwarves for every team. If you get something like this here, barbarian teams, barbarians can still wreck dwarves pretty good sometimes, especially Solaris. Sometimes with all those extra rage strikes that they get with the stacks of rage, Solaris goes down pretty easy. Same with this. Use your basic PvP common sense when doing this. Don't just roll with the dwarves just because you're trying to get you know, tickets or whatever. So still use common sense. That's one thing I like about this update, is it basically didn't just make it the new barbarian team where you could just run dwarves and just auto win everything. So use some common sense and you'll be fine. With that said, that's going to wrap up this particular video. I'm not going to focus too much more. It's already after 20 minutes. So any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, if I missed anything, you can certainly point that out as well. I sort of sped through some things. If I misunderstood a mechanic or a stat, you can also let me know that. So otherwise, we'll see you again next time, and thanks again for watching. Thank you so much for watching this video and supporting my channel. If you like this video, please show your continued support by hitting that like button, and be sure to check out both my YouTube channels for new content all the time. And always remember, peace is a lie, there's only passion. We'll see you next time.